Good evening, traveler. Wherever you are in the world, I'm glad you're here. Before we drift into tonight's story, I'd love for you to share something with me. Who is listening right now? Where are you tuning in from? What time of night or morning is it where you are? And which country do you call home? Leave me a little note. I always enjoy seeing our global family come together in this quiet space. And if you enjoy journeys like this one, a gentle reminder to like this story, subscribe for more, and perhaps even share it with a friend who might need a peaceful escape. Now, breathe slowly. Dim the lights. Let the day go. Tonight, you'll step into a different time. A different life. A place where survival is uncertain and justice is rough and quick. Tonight, you are waking up in the year 1875. And you are the sheriff of a dusty frontier town. Your badge may shine faintly, but your future is anything but certain. Let's begin. Congratulations, or perhaps condolences. You've just woken up in 1875. You are the newly elected sheriff of Dusty Creek, Kansas. Population? Maybe 300 on a good day. The first thing you notice isn't the sunlight. It's the smell. The pungent blend of horse manure, unwashed bodies, and rotting scraps from the butcher's shop down the road. It hangs heavy in the air, thick as smoke, clinging to your clothes before you've even left your bed. And speaking of that bed, it's little more than a wooden frame strung with ropes. A thin straw mattress rests on top, and every shift you make crackles like dried autumn leaves. Sharp bits of straw poke through the fabric, scratching your back with every movement. Comfort is something folks in the East can dream about. Here, you're lucky to have a roof at all. The blanket across your chest is wool, rough as bark, and it scratches at your skin. But it's the only shield you have against the chill that seeps through the gaps in the wooden walls. This is your new life. Sheriff of a town built from dust and desperation. The good news, you've got a title, a badge, and a gun. The bad news? Where do we start? Your predecessor vanished into the night, half the county's tax money stuffed in his pockets. The rest of it? Lost to whiskey and a poker game that lasted nearly a month. Your salary? $200 a year. If you're lucky, you might earn more serving papers or collecting fines, but deputies will demand their share. Assuming you can even find anyone willing to stand at your side. Most men in Dusty Creek aren't desperate enough to wear a target on their chest. You rise from bed, feet touching floorboards that creak and groan like a ship lost at sea. The chill stabs your toes, but you dress anyway. Brown will suit. Too short at the ankles. Jacket tight at the shoulders. A hat that's more suggestion than substance, drooping like a tired dog's ears. And then, the Colt .45 at your side. Heavy. Always heavy. Your draw is slow, your aim unreliable, but intimidation counts for more than precision out here. At least, that's what you keep telling yourself. The day begins not with glory, but with chores. Your first task as sheriff? Sweeping up Main Street. Broken bottles. Cigar butts. Even a single boot, abandoned in the night. The town's lawman, reduced to street sweeper. The sky glows with pale pink as smoke curls from chimneys. The sounds of Dusty Creek rise with the dawn, a baby's cry, the harsh cough of a miner's lungs, the thunk of an axe splitting wood. Cold bites your fingers, numb even inside worn leather gloves. Old Murphy steps out of his general store just as you pass. A grizzled beard hides half his face, and he smells of coffee and leather. "Morning, Sheriff," he says with a voice tinged with both respect and pity. Everyone knows your badge is a death sentence. "Morning, Murphy. Any trouble last night?" "Nothing you need worry about," he says. "Just the usual rowdy bunch at Salty Sue's." You nod, broom in hand, glass crunching under your boots. Dusty Creek is waking up. And you, Sheriff, are its reluctant caretaker. The jail sits at the end of Main Street, a squat wooden shack with barred windows. Optimistically called the county detention facility, it smells worse than any stable in town. Inside, a single snore rumbles. You wrestle the heavy key into the rusty lock. It sticks, as always, until you lean your shoulder against the door. The stench greets you like a blow. Sweat, stale whiskey, and someone's failure to reach the chamber pot. On the bench lies Jake Morrison. Young, sandy-haired, fists bloodied from last night's fight. He stirs when you speak. "Jake," you say softly. "Time to wake up." He groans, clutching his head. "Sheriff, what time is it?" "Time for you to pay your fine. $2, or I send word to your boss." Jake fumbles in his pocket, pulling out crumpled bills. You take them, unlock his cell, and watch him stumble into the cold morning air. Already, you know, you'll be seeing him again. Back in the dim jailhouse, you take stock of your equipment. The Colt on your hip weighs like a newborn calf. Beside it, a wooden baton scarred with use, iron handcuffs heavier than horseshoes, and your badge, dented, tarnished, yet symbolic. The dent tells its own tale. A bullet once grazed it when your predecessor, Sheriff Tom Bradley, stood in this same role. He survived. Barely. Many sheriffs don't. The badge gleams faintly in the pale light filtering through the bars. Out here, authority isn't about paperwork or respect. It's about how quickly you can draw. Still, you pin it to your chest, feeling the cold metal press against your wool jacket. A fragile promise of order in a lawless land. Jake Morrison lingers at the door, swaying slightly. You remind him to keep his fights to daylight hours. You need your rest. He tips his hat, nearly stumbles into the dirt, then shuffles away toward the stable. His horse is waiting. His liver already overworked. And you know you'll see him again soon. Your office is hardly worthy of the name. A battered desk wedged in the corner of Murphy's General Store, offered in exchange for you keeping an eye on the merchandise. The desk itself is scarred with initials of sheriff's past. Some marks are tally lines, survival records etched in desperation. 4 months and 3 days stands as the longest tenure. One poor soul lasted just 6. Papers litter the surface. Warrants, tax lists, reports demanded by the county. They want updates on arrests, fines, even firearms confiscated. All to be written by hand, your spider-crawl handwriting straining to appear official. Being sheriff, you realize, isn't just about facing down outlaws. It's ink stains and paper cuts too. The morning sun creeps through the dusty window, painting pale lines across the desk. You sigh. Survival, taxes, criminals. It all blurs together here in Dusty Creek. Your duties today? Tax collection. The county demands its due, and your route includes a visit to the widow Thompson. A stern woman, widowed last winter, who has been dodging payments for months. She claims poverty, yet you've seen her buy supplies with ease. It's never easy, knocking on a neighbor's door for money they don't wish to give. Some pay quickly, resigned. Others require persuasion. And then there are those who resist, hand drifting to the butt of a revolver instead of a purse. For those encounters, you prefer company. But company is hard to come by when the badge is cursed. You slip the folded tax list into your pocket. Widow Thompson may not welcome your visit, but the county doesn't care about kindness. They care about numbers. Before leaving town, you make your way to Salty Sue's. Trouble brewed there last night, and part of your role is to keep records of such disturbances. The saloon looms larger than most buildings, with its second floor hiding the quieter half of Sue's business. Paint clings brighter here, and glass windows glitter faintly in the morning light. Luxuries in Dusty Creek. You push through the batwing doors. Inside, the world changes. Dim light. Sticky floors. The sharp blend of tobacco, whiskey, and perfume, or perhaps floor cleaner. Behind the bar, Sue polishes glasses with a rag older than some of her patrons. Her smile cuts sharp. "Morning, Sheriff," she rasps. "I wondered when you'd come." You slide onto a stool that creaks in protest. "Murphy mentioned there was trouble," you say. Sue nods, wiping glass after glass. "Nothing too serious. A couple of cowboys got too familiar with my girls. Big Jim stepped in. Sorted quick." Your eyes drift to a table in the corner, its leg freshly repaired, the wood lighter than the rest. "Any damages I need to note?" "Just that table, and it's fixed already." The boys were Circle K ranch hands. They paid up and apologized. You make a mental note. Ranch foremen like to know when their men cause trouble. And you? You like to stay on good terms with ranchers. Trouble with them is trouble with the whole town. Leaving Sue's, you pass the blacksmith's. Big Jim is already at work, hammer ringing against glowing iron. His frame fills the doorway, arms like tree trunks, sweat shining despite the morning chill. He waves with a grin. He's no deputy, not officially, but in this town he's as close as you've got. When fights break out, Jim is there. Not for pay, but out of a rough sense of order. His hammer, his size, they speak louder than any badge. You nod back, grateful. You may not have allies in the county, but here in Dusty Creek, men like Jim keep you alive. The walk back through town reminds you how fragile Dusty Creek truly is. Buildings lean on each other like drunks staggering home. Nails and prayers hold the walls upright. Paint is rare, wood faded to gray, everything coated in a fine dust that never settles. You catch yourself staring at the horizon, where pale hills roll into emptiness. Out here, civilization is a whisper. Law is a suggestion. And you are its reluctant enforcer. Back at your desk, you shuffle papers again. Warrants. Property claims. Petty disputes scratched in shaky handwriting by townsfolk who want you to solve their problems. The county demands order. The people demand fairness. And all you can provide is survival. The badge glints faintly. You wonder how long you'll last before your name is just another carved initial on this desk. The time has come. Widow Thompson waits outside town, her taxes overdue. You holster the Colt, sling the baton on your belt, and gather the papers. The sky is brighter now, sunlight gilding the rooftops of Dusty Creek. Smoke from chimneys rises straight and thin in the calm morning air. You mount your horse. The animal shifts beneath you, steady and patient. You stroke its neck, grateful for its silence. In this job, your horse may be the only friend who doesn't betray you. The dirt road stretches ahead, ruts carved deep by wagon wheels, dust lifting with every hoofstep. Behind you, Dusty Creek wakes slowly, doors opening, voices rising, hammers striking nails. Ahead, only the long road and the quiet weight of duty. Every mile from town carries you deeper into uncertainty. Ranches dot the land, their fences fragile against the endless plains. Somewhere out there, men carry grudges, rifles, and short tempers. You keep your hand near the holster, just in case. The widow's farm appears at last, wooden house leaning under the weight of years, fields patchy but alive. Smoke curls from the chimney. A stubborn resilience keeps this place standing, much like the woman inside. You tie your horse at the gate, boots crunching the dry earth as you step forward. Collecting taxes feels less like law, more like intrusion. But the county demands it. And so you knock. The door creaks open. Widow Thompson stands there, tall, eyes sharp as barbed wire. "Sheriff," she says flatly. No warmth. No fear. Just weariness. You explain the county's demand. Taxes unpaid for 3 months. She crosses her arms, jaw set. "I told you. I don't have it." But you've seen her at Murphy's, coin in hand. Supplies bought freely. You weigh your words carefully. Push too hard and she'll slam the door. Too soft and she'll never pay. In her silence, you hear the echo of every tax dispute across the West. A fight not of bullets, but of stubborn pride. The widow's refusal gnaws at you. You could threaten seizure of property, livestock, tools. But every piece taken cuts into her survival. You are law, yes, but you are also neighbor. And here, neighbors matter more than papers stamped in some faraway county office. You give her another week. She narrows her eyes, but says nothing. The door closes with a soft thud. You turn back toward your horse, the weight of compromise heavy on your shoulders. The sun hangs higher now, warming the chill from the air. Your horse trots steady, hooves crunching dirt. The road back feels longer than the road out. Your mind lingers on the widow, her stubbornness, her quiet defiance. Law is supposed to be clear. But out here, it is anything but. Each decision you make is a gamble. Each compromise another weight on the soul. Dusty Creek comes into view again, rising from the plain like a stubborn scar. Chimneys puff smoke. Doors swing open. The sound of a hammer rings out from Big Jim's forge. You ride back through the same dusty street you swept this morning. The same broken boards. The same leaning walls. Yet somehow, it feels heavier now. The town looks to you for order. For justice. For protection. But as you slide from your horse, boots crunching on the dirt, you feel the truth settle like dust. This badge is not a shield. It is a target. And your day has only just begun. Back inside Murphy's store, you settle once more at the battered desk. The sunlight streaming through the window does little to warm the chill in your bones. You spread the county papers across the scarred surface, their ink smudges blurring into one another. Warrants to serve. Fines to collect. Property disputes that will end with two men spitting insults across a fence line. Out here, the law feels less like justice, more like patchwork. You hold the quill, staring at the empty page. The spider scratch of your handwriting may be ugly, but it is the county's record of survival. Outside the window, you watch Dusty Creek stir to life. Children dart between buildings, chasing each other with sticks. Women haul buckets from the well, skirts brushing against the dusty ground. A wagon creaks down the street, wheels wobbling as though they might collapse at any moment. This town is fragile, yet stubborn. Each soul fights in their own way to hold the place together. And you, with your badge, are expected to keep it all from breaking apart. The thought sits heavy in your chest. Your pen scratches across a report when the door swings open. A ranch hand stumbles in, hat clutched to his chest, dust clinging to his boots. He glances at you, nervous. "Sheriff," he says, voice rough, "we got trouble. Circle K Ranch. Some cattle's gone missing. Foreman says you best come take a look." Murphy raises an eyebrow from behind the counter, but says nothing. You set the pen aside, heart already heavy. Trouble with ranches means trouble for the whole county. You step into the cold air, boots crunching gravel as you head for the stable. Your horse greets you with a snort, ears flicking. You run a hand down its neck, leather reins rough in your palm. The thought of stolen cattle makes your gut tighten. Rustling isn't just theft, it's survival for ranchers, pride for foremen, and blood for cowboys ready to defend what's theirs. You swing into the saddle, the colt heavy on your hip. Dusty Creek shrinks behind you as the road stretches ahead. The plains open wide, horizon endless. Grass ripples under the wind like waves on a dry ocean. Here, silence reigns, broken only by the rhythmic thud of hooves. The Circle K Ranch sits beyond those rolling hills, a patch of civilization against the emptiness. You keep your eyes sharp. Rustlers don't just steal, they vanish into this vastness, leaving nothing but hoofprints fading in the dust. The ranch house comes into view, sturdy timbers weathered by years of sun and storm. Men stand in clusters near the corral, voices low, eyes sharp with suspicion. The foreman, a broad man with a grizzled beard, steps forward. "Sheriff," he says, "we're missin' 10 head. Fences cut clean. Tracks headin' west. We figure rustlers." His jaw tightens. "We want our cattle back." His words carry more than frustration. They carry a warning. If the sheriff doesn't act, the ranchers will. You follow the foreman to the edge of the pasture. Wire hangs loose, cut by a sure hand. Hoof prints stampede westward into the open land. The trail is fresh, the soil still damp with prints. Your stomach knots. Rustlers are bold, but boldness usually means desperation. And desperation can make a man dangerous. You kneel, running your fingers across the torn earth. The signs are clear. Someone is testing Dusty Creek's law. Testing you. The foreman's men look to you, waiting. Some clutch rifles, eager for pursuit. Others spit curses into the dust, already planning payback. You weigh the choice. Chase the rustlers now and risk an ambush. Wait until later, and the trail may vanish like smoke. Either way, someone will be angry. Someone will whisper that the sheriff is weak. Out here, hesitation is almost as deadly as a bullet. You mount up again, signaling for 2 riders to join. The rest remain behind, guarding the herd. The trail winds west, through scrub and rolling hills. The air tastes of dust, each breath dry as paper. Hours stretch, sun climbing higher. The hoofprints remain clear. Whoever stole the cattle didn't bother hiding their tracks. Bold indeed. Perhaps too bold. As the trail narrows between 2 rocky ridges, your gut tightens. This is where you'd lay in ambush. Your hand hovers near the colt. You glance at the men riding with you, their eyes scanning the ridgelines. Silence stretches. Even the wind holds its breath. Then, a faint crack. A rifle shot echoes, dust kicking at the ground near your horse's hoofs. The ambush has begun. The riders scatter, spurring their horses toward cover. Another shot rings, then another, echoing between the rocks. You slide from your saddle, pressing against the earth, heart hammering. Rustlers hidden above, rifles ready. Your colt feels too heavy, your breath too loud. You peek around a boulder, the sun blinding. A shadow shifts on the ridge. You fire. The crack echoes like thunder. For long minutes, the canyon roars with gunfire. Dust, shouting, the screams of spooked horses. Then silence. The echo fades, replaced by the wheeze of your own breath. One rider beside you clutches his arm, blood seeping through his sleeve. Another peers upward, face pale. The rustlers have vanished, melting into the ridges like ghosts. The cattle are gone with them. You regroup, heart still pounding. One wounded, no cattle recovered, and no sign of the thieves. The foreman will not be pleased. You press a cloth against the injured man's arm, steadying him. The West is merciless. Every fight takes something from you, even when you survive. Today, it took cattle, pride, and a piece of trust. The road back to Circle K is heavy, each hoofbeat a reminder of failure. The wounded man groans softly, pale against the saddle. You keep your eyes on the horizon, but your mind lingers on the rustlers. They knew what they were doing, knew where to strike, and knew how to vanish. This was not desperation. This was planning. The foreman meets you at the gate, jaw tight, eyes darker than storm clouds. "Well," he asks. You explain: ambush, gunfire, men lost, cattle gone. His silence cuts deeper than anger. "Rustlers test us, Sheriff. You let them walk, they'll be back." He doesn't shout, doesn't curse. But the disappointment in his voice weighs heavier than bullets. You nod, unable to promise more. Back in town, whispers spread faster than smoke. Some say the sheriff was too slow. Others say you were outgunned. In Dusty Creek, failure doesn't stay hidden. Every eye lingers on your badge with quiet doubt. You walk the street, sweeping glances over leaning buildings and suspicious stares. Even Murphy, behind his counter, watches you with something unreadable in his eyes. Salty Sue greets you as you step inside, her smile sharp as ever. Heard you had a rough ride, Sheriff. Word travels quick. Too quick. You settle at the bar, the stool groaning beneath you. A glass of whiskey slides your way. You stare at it, amber liquid catching the dim light. You know you shouldn't, but the weight of the day presses hard. You sip. Slowly. Carefully. Sue leans across the bar, eyes narrowing. Rustlers don't strike Circle K without knowing the lay of the land. Someone's feeding them information. Someone close. Her words cut sharp. She wipes the bar with her rag, then lowers her voice. Careful, Sheriff. Trouble's closer than you think. You study her face, searching for more. But Sue never gives more than she intends. The jail is quiet when you return. Too quiet. The lantern burns low, shadows stretching across the floorboards. You sink into the chair at your desk, Colt heavy at your side, eyes half closed. Outside, the wind moans through the alleys, rattling shutters. You think of the cattle, the rustlers, the widow, the whispers. Sleep tugs at you, but trust does not. Not in this town. Not with this badge. The badge lies on the desk, catching the lantern light. Dented. Tarnished. Heavy with expectation. Each sheriff before you wore it for weeks, maybe months, before fate claimed them. You trace the metal with your finger, its coldness sinking into your skin. Outside, Dusty Creek slumbers, but unrest stirs just beyond the horizon. The cattle are gone. The rustlers emboldened. And you, Sheriff, must carry the weight into tomorrow. Morning comes not with peace, but with unease. The sky glows faintly pink, yet your body feels as though you never slept. Dusty Creek stirs slowly, doors creak open, smoke curls from chimneys, boots crunch on frost-tipped dirt. You step outside the jailhouse, breath clouding in the cold. The air smells faintly of smoke, manure, and something sour you can't place. For a moment you simply stand there, hands resting against the porch post, watching the town come alive. Every man you see tips his hat with polite respect, but you notice the longer glances. The whispers. The weight of doubt. They know about the rustlers. They know you came back empty-handed. In the West, failure doesn't stay buried. It lingers like a wound. And yet, you must rise again, because the day waits for no one. Murphy greets you with a cup of thick, bitter coffee as you step into his store. The steam curls into your face, warming you just enough to take the edge off the chill. Rough night? He asks, though the question is more statement than curiosity. You sip slowly, the taste dark, smoky, laced with ash. Around you, shelves stand half empty. Cans of beans, flour sacks, a barrel of molasses sticky at the rim. Word spreads fast. Murphy continues, eyes never leaving yours. Some folks think the rustlers had help. Maybe even someone here in town. You lower the cup, heart sinking. If that's true, the fight is already inside your walls. Dusty Creek is too small for secrets, yet every face suddenly feels like one. As you return to the jailhouse, a figure waits on the porch. Widow Callahan, her dark shawl drawn close against the wind. Her face is lined, eyes sharp, lips set in a firm line. "Sheriff," she says softly, "I heard about the cattle." You nod, unsure of her angle. She glances around before stepping closer. Men are restless. Ranchers, merchants, even the miners. They think law means protection. They see failure and they start wondering if they can take matters into their own hands. Her gaze pierces yours. "I've seen towns tear themselves apart, Sheriff. Don't let that happen here." With that, she adjusts her shawl and walks away, leaving you with her warning echoing like a church bell. By midday, A stranger rides into Dusty Creek. Tall, thin, hat brim pulled low, horse lean but strong. He dismounts outside Salty Sue's, ties the reins with a practiced flick, and steps inside without a glance toward anyone. Conversations falter on the street. Strangers rarely come unnoticed, especially ones who carry themselves with such quiet confidence. You watch from across the street, hand brushing the colt at your hip. Something about the man's gait, the way he studies the saloon doors before pushing through, it stirs unease. Out here, trouble doesn't always arrive with shouting. Sometimes it slips in silent, carried on the boots of men who look like shadows. Curiosity pushes you into Salty Sue's minutes later. The saloon is dim, smoke curling thick in the air. Sue stands behind the bar, her smile thinner than usual. The stranger sits alone at a corner table, hat still low, a bottle of whiskey untouched before him. Cards shuffle at nearby tables, but all eyes flick toward him, then back to their games. You step to the bar. Sue leans close, whispering. Calls himself Mason. Says he's just passing through. But there's a weight to him, Sheriff. The kind that doesn't pass easy. You glance again at the man. His hands are calm, resting on the table. Too calm. The sort of calm born of experience, of waiting. You cross the saloon, boots scuffing the floor. The man looks up as you approach, lifting his hat just enough to reveal sharp eyes the color of cold steel. Sheriff, he says, voice smooth. Not a question. A statement. He already knows who you are. You sit across from him, the chair groaning. Passing through, you ask. His lips twitch. Maybe. Maybe not. His gaze never wavers. Heard you've been having trouble with rustlers. The way he says it makes your skin prickle. You lean back, studying him in return. A stranger with too much knowledge is rarely a coincidence. Mason pours himself a shot of whiskey but doesn't drink it. He swirls the glass slowly, eyes fixed on you. Rustlers don't act without reason, he says. They've got leadership, strategy. A man behind them who knows this land better than you do. You remain silent, waiting. He sets the glass down gently. Question is, do you want my help? The offer hangs between you, heavy as the smoke in the air. Help from a stranger is as risky as refusing it. But in Dusty Creek, risks are unavoidable. You leave the saloon unsettled. Mason remains inside, the untouched whiskey catching the lamplight. Outside, the sun sinks lower, shadows stretching across the dirt street. You think of his words, of leaders, strategy, knowledge. Rustlers didn't just appear out of nowhere. Someone is guiding them. And that someone may know you better than you realize. The idea gnaws at you, a whisper you cannot silence. Every sheriff before you carried secrets to their grave. Perhaps this is yours. As dusk deepens, you walk the length of Main Street. Doors shut. Lamps flicker to life behind thin curtains. The town exhales slowly, settling into night. Yet your steps remain tense, eyes scanning shadows between buildings. Somewhere, out there, rustlers regroup. Somewhere, men whisper about the sheriff's weakness. And somewhere, Mason waits, his motives hidden like cards pressed close to his chest. The West does not sleep easily. Neither can you. You light the lantern in the jailhouse, flame casting a golden glow. The room feels smaller at night, shadows pressing in from the corners. You sit at the desk, badge glinting faintly in the dim light. Outside, the wind moans against the walls. You open the ledger, quill scratching slowly across the page. Press. Finds. Failures. The words look back at you like ghosts. The colt rests beside your hand. You wonder if tomorrow will demand it. The night stretches long and quiet until a sound jolts you, a knock at the jailhouse door. Not loud, not frantic, just steady. You rise slowly, colt close at hand, lantern casting long shadows as you approach. The knock comes again. When you open the door, a young boy stands there, hat too big for his head, eyes wide as coins. "Sheriff," he stammers, "Pa says you gotta come quick. Something's happened out by the creek." You kneel slightly, steadying your voice. "What kind of something?" The boy swallows hard. "Horse is gone. Fence is cut. And Pa says he saw men with torches." His words hang heavy in the night. The rustlers aren't resting. They're moving. Minutes later, you're in the saddle, the boy clinging to his pony beside you. The moonlight paints the prairie silver, grass whispering as hooves thunder across it. Cold air bites at your face, but your focus stays sharp. You can smell smoke on the wind, faint but real, guiding you toward trouble. The boy's pony lags behind, its small frame straining. "Stay close," you tell him, voice low. "Don't stray." His nod is quick, but fear flickers in his eyes. The prairie stretches endless in every direction, a sea of shadows. Somewhere ahead, men move like wolves, tearing at the edges of your fragile town. You crest a ridge and see it, orange flames licking upward from broken fences, the smell of charred wood stinging your nose. The creek reflects the firelight, water rippling red and gold. 3 horses bolt through the brush, their manes wild, eyes rolling. At least half a dozen figures scatter into the darkness, their torches dropped into the dirt. Too far to shoot, too quick to chase. You press your heels into your horse, charging forward, but by the time you reach the creek the men are gone, leaving nothing but ruin and smoke. You sit there, chest heaving, firelight painting your badge in trembling light. They didn't come for cattle tonight. They came to send a message. Beside the wreckage stands the boy's father, lean and worn, a rifle in hand. His face twists between rage and despair. "They took the horses, Sheriff. Every damn one. Without them I can't plow. I can't haul. My family's done for." His voice cracks, and he grips the rifle tighter. "You gonna stop this, or do I need to?" The fire crackles behind him, illuminating the raw edge of desperation in his eyes. You meet his stare, steady but heavy. "You'll keep your rifle for protection. Leave the chasing to me." But as you say it, doubt gnaws at you. Out here, promises are as fragile as wood in flame. The fire dies to embers as dawn paints the horizon pale gray. You ride back toward Dusty Creek with the boy, both of you silent. His head droops with exhaustion, but his small hands grip the reins stubbornly. You study him and wonder if this is the lesson every child here learns too soon, that the world takes more than it gives, and that law is a brittle shield. Your horse snorts, hooves thudding steady, each step carrying you closer to town, closer to the questions waiting. How do you keep peace when fear spreads faster than any outlaw? By the time you return, Dusty Creek is awake. Word has already spread. Men cluster in knots outside Murphy's store, voices sharp, faces grim. You dismount slowly, adjusting the badge on your chest. One rancher points at you. "Sheriff, we're tired of waiting. Those rustlers ain't afraid of you. Ain't afraid of any law. Maybe it's time we take matters in our own hands." A ripple of agreement runs through the crowd. You raise a hand, calm but firm. You form a mob, you'll start a war. And wars leave graves. The silence that follows is heavy, but their eyes burn with doubt. You know their patience is running thin, and so is your time. As the crowd disperses reluctantly, you catch sight of Mason leaning against the saloon wall, arms crossed, eyes cool. He doesn't speak, doesn't move, just studies the scene with that unsettling calm. You cross to him, boots crunching in the dirt. "You knew this would happen," you say. His lips curl faintly. "Didn't take a prophet to see it, Sheriff. Fear's the strongest drink in this town, and your bottle's running dry." His words sting, but there's truth in them. Still think you don't need my help? He adds, voice quiet. You look at him, the weight of the night pressing down. Maybe enemies aren't your only danger. Maybe allies can be too. That night, you sit with Mason in the jailhouse, lantern flickering between you. The air is thick with the scent of kerosene and smoke from your jacket. You know these rustlers? You ask. Mason leans forward, elbows on the desk. Not them, not exactly. But I know the kind. Organized. Efficient. They're not stealing for survival, they're stealing for control. You study him. His eyes are hard, but not cruel. He's been where they are, you realize. Maybe still is. So what's your play? You ask. Mason smirks faintly. Same as yours. Survive. Sleep evades you long after Mason leaves. You lie on your rope-strung bed, straw poking through, the chill seeping into your bones. Every sound outside, the creak of wood, the distant bark of a dog, feels sharper, louder. Your mind runs circles. The boy's frightened eyes. The farmer's plea. The crowd's murmurs. And Mason. His words, his presence, his secrets. You close your eyes, but the darkness offers no rest. Just the image of flames by the creek and shadows slipping away into the night. At first light you rise. The air is brittle with frost, breath puffing white as you saddle your horse. Dusty Creek stirs behind you, but you ride out alone, the prairie wide and endless. You don't know where the rustlers are hiding. You don't know if Mason is friend or foe. You don't even know if the town still believes in you. But you know this, if you don't act, Dusty Creek will tear itself apart. The horizon burns gold with sunrise, and you push forward, each hoofbeat a vow. Hours later, you spot them. Tracks fresh. Hoofprints pressed deep into the dirt, leading toward the low hills west of the creek. You dismount, crouching, fingers brushing the impressions. At least 8 riders moving fast. You follow the trail, every step deliberate, every sound sharp in your ears. The prairie holds its breath, as though it knows what waits. Somewhere ahead, men laugh, whisper, plot. Somewhere ahead, the story of Dusty Creek twists further. And you, weary sheriff, are bound to follow. The trail winds into a narrow gulch where stone walls rise on either side. Hoofprints scatter, crossing and doubling back. You pause, horse snorting nervously. This is no careless movement. It's the kind of ground men choose when they want to trap whoever's following. You rest a hand on your colt, scanning the cliffs. Nothing stirs. Yet every instinct screams danger. Dust shifts beneath your boots as you walk, soft enough to tell you someone passed only hours ago. They're close. Too close. Your footsteps carry through the gulch like whispers. Each echo feels like a warning, bouncing off stone until you can't tell which sounds are yours and which belong to others. You imagine rifles aimed from above, unseen men holding their breath. But silence remains. Only the wind moves, whistling through cracks in the rock. You press on, heart steady, knowing full well that courage here might mean walking straight into a grave. Halfway through, something catches your eye, glinting faintly in the dirt. You kneel and pick it up. A spent rifle cartridge, still warm from the sun. Not old. Not forgotten. A message, perhaps, or a warning left behind. You roll it between your fingers before slipping it into your pocket. Evidence, proof that the men you chase are armed, deliberate, and not afraid to fire. From the far end of the gulch, a crow calls. Harsh, sudden, startling. Your horse jerks, ears flat. The sound fades, but your pulse doesn't slow. Crows circle where death lingers. You step out of the narrow pass into open prairie, and for a fleeting moment, relief washes through you. Yet you know the rustlers wanted you to feel that, to wonder if you pass safely, or if danger only waits further ahead. On the horizon, a figure appears, riding slow, alone. You shade your eyes. The horse is chestnut, the rider tall, hat brim low. No rush in his pace, no panic in his posture. As he nears, he raises a hand in greeting. You don't answer. Instead, your fingers brush the colt. Strangers rarely ride alone without reason. When he pulls close, his voice is calm. Sheriff, he says as if he already knows you. The man introduces himself as Calder, a drifter passing through. Claims he saw riders headed north, fast as devils with fire at their heels. His story comes smooth, practiced. Yet something in his eyes doesn't match his words. They shift, never holding yours for long. You press him. What direction? How many? What brands on the horses? His answers come easy, too easy. The prairie teaches you to trust silence over silver tongues. And this man's words shine too bright. Calder points north, where the land dips toward a stretch of cottonwoods. Yet the tracks at your feet bend west. You study both paths, heat of the sun pressing against your neck. Follow Calder's words, or trust the dirt beneath you. Your horse stamps, restless, as if it too knows decisions made here might decide more than a day. They might decide who lives and who doesn't. You think Calder but ride west, following the tracks. His eyes narrow as you turn, though he smiles politely. Safe travels, Sheriff, he calls, but his voice carries something sharper than courtesy. You don't look back. If Calder's friend or foe, time will show. For now, you follow the earth's truth, not a stranger's story. Dust swirls behind you, the trail stretching like a thread into uncertainty. As the sun lowers, smoke curls faintly against the horizon. You ride closer, heart quickening. Through your spyglass, you see it, a small camp tucked in a hollow. Horses tied, men moving around a fire. At least 7 of them. Too many to take alone. You ease back, careful not to draw attention. Dusty Creek needs information more than gunfire tonight. You etch the sight into memory, every face you can catch in the fading light. You guide your horse back slowly, each hoofstep measured. The prairie stretches endless, but shadows grow long, and every rustle of grass feels like pursuit. The rustlers may have seen you, may not. Either way, you know where they are now. That knowledge alone feels like a weapon, fragile, but sharp if used right. The horizon burns crimson with dusk as you ride toward town. When you arrive, Mason is leaning outside the jailhouse, arms folded, as though he knew you'd return. His eyes flick to your face, reading what you won't say aloud. You found them, he murmurs. You nod once. He doesn't ask more, doesn't need to. Instead, he says, you can't go back there alone. Not if you want to live. And not if you want Dusty Creek to survive. For the first time, you realize he's not offering help. He's telling you it's already decided. That night, you call a meeting in Murphy's store. Ranchers, merchants, even Sioux arrive, their faces lined with worry. You tell them about the camp, the rustlers' numbers, the threat. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. One man shouts, "Then let's ride tonight." Another growls, "Wait too long and they'll bleed us dry." You raise your hands, steady. We ride, yes, but not as a mob. We do this careful. Together. Or we won't do it at all. The silence that follows is thick, broken only by the creak of Murphy's floorboards. The meeting fractures. Some men agree to follow your lead. Others demand quicker blood. Sue speaks last, voice cool but sharp. "Sheriff's right. You go in wild, you'll bury half this town before week's end." Her words carry weight, pulling some back from the edge. Still, you see doubt in their eyes, the kind that grows in cracks. You dismiss them with a promise, plans will be made by dawn. But promises weigh heavy, and dawn comes fast. After the others leave, Mason lingers. "You think they'll follow you?" he asks quietly. You shrug. "They don't have to trust me. Just the badge." Mason smirks. Badges don't stop bullets. He leans closer. When the shooting starts, it won't be your speeches that save them. It'll be men like me. His tone isn't boastful. It's fact. And somehow, that unsettles you more than any threat. Alone in the jailhouse, you open the ledger. Quill scratches across the page, names of ranchers, debts owed, fines collected. You add a note, Rustler Camp, West Hollow. Approximate 7 men. Your handwriting wavers, ink blotting the paper. This record may outlive you, may be the only truth left if tomorrow goes wrong. You set the quill down, staring at the dent in your badge. The weight of history presses, reminding you how short most sheriff's stories end. You try for sleep, but it comes shallow, broken. Dreams twist with firelight and gunfire, faceless men chasing you through gulches that never end. You wake before dawn, sweat chilling your skin, heart racing. The straw mattress feels harder than stone, the thin blanket useless against the creeping cold. You sit up, rubbing your temples. The day hasn't even begun, yet it already feels heavy as lead. At sunrise, men gather. Horses snort, hooves stamping, breath steaming in the cold air. You count them, 12 willing riders, not many, but enough to stand a chance if the element of surprise holds. Mason is among them, calm as ever, saddled and ready. His presence draws glances, but no one speaks against him. You mount your horse, scanning the faces. Fear sits in their eyes, but so does resolve. We ride, you say simply, and together, the column moves out. The ride west is quiet, only the creak of leather and the steady rhythm of hooves. No laughter, no talk. Just the prairie stretching endless around you, the weight of what waits ahead. You keep your eyes on the horizon, where cottonwoods sway gently. Each mile brings you closer to fire, to gunpowder, to the test that may decide if Dusty Creek breathes another week. By midday, you crest the ridge overlooking the hollow. Smoke curls faintly. The camp is still there. Horses tied, men gathered. Through the spyglass, you count again, 7, maybe 8. You lower the glass, turning to the riders. We circle wide, you whisper. Come from both sides. No firing till I give word. Nods ripple through the group. The plan is simple. Too simple, perhaps. But the prairie offers no luxury for perfection. You and Mason crawl through the grass, close enough now to hear laughter from the camp. The men below pass a bottle, argue over cards, rifles propped carelessly nearby. Yet you know better than to mistake carelessness for weakness. Every outlaw alive has learned to play at ease until the moment steel flashes. You lie still, waiting, heart steady, breath slow. One wrong move, and the hollow becomes a graveyard. From the far ridge, one of your riders raises a hand. The signal is ready. You nod, gripping your Colt, every muscle coiled. The prairie is silent now, even the wind holding its breath. Mason leans close, voice barely a whisper. Time to see what you're made of, Sheriff. His words sting, but you don't answer. Instead, you raise your hand high, then drop it. Chaos explodes. Riders thunder down the slopes, rifles cracking, shouts tearing the air. Rustlers scramble, some reaching for guns, others for horses. Dust rises thick, blinding, choking. You fire once, the Colt's recoil jolting through your arm. A man falls. Mason moves beside you like a shadow, firing clean, precise. The hollow fills with gunfire and smoke, sound crashing like thunder against the cliffs. The fight lasts minutes, though it feels endless. When the smoke clears, 3 rustlers lie dead, 2 wounded, and the rest fled into the prairie. Your riders gather, faces pale, chests heaving. One man clutches his arm, blood soaking his sleeve. The horses snort wildly, eyes rolling. You dismount slowly, boots sinking into churned dirt. The hollow stinks of powder and iron, a bitter reminder of the cost. Mason steps beside you, calm as ever, wiping his revolver clean. His eyes scan the scene, cold but efficient. "Not bad," he says softly. "For lawmen." His tone carries no mockery, just a strange kind of respect. You glance at him, breath still ragged. For the first time, you realize how much of this fight turned on his steady hand. And that knowledge unsettles you more than the blood at your boots. The two wounded rustlers groan in the dirt. You kneel beside one, pressing the barrel of your Colt against his chest. "Who leads you?" you demand. His lips curl, blood flecking his teeth. "Wouldn't you like to know?" You press harder, but his laugh turns into a cough. The other prisoner shakes his head weakly. "You'll never stop him." "Not him." His words send a chill down your spine. However, the rustlers fear him more than death. You bind the prisoners, hauling them onto spare horses. The group rides back slow, wounded men groaning, dust rising behind you. No one speaks much. Victory feels hollow, fragile. You want to fight, but war still lingers. You glance at the horizon where the survivors fled. They'll return. With more men. With vengeance. And perhaps, with the shadowed leader the prisoners refuse to name. When Dusty Creek sees you return with prisoners in tow, relief ripples through the street. Hats raise, voices cheer, though some cheers ring hollow. They see the blood, the wounded, the dead-eyed stares of men who fought too close to death. Murphy meets you at the jailhouse door, face grim. "One battle's not the war," he mutters. You nod, leading the prisoners inside. Law has its victories, but it also gathers debts. That night, Mason sits outside the jail, smoke from his cigarette curling into the dark. He doesn't speak, doesn't boast, just watches the street. You step beside him, silent. For a long moment, the only sound is the creak of wood and the sigh of wind. Finally he says, "You saw it today. You can't do this alone." His eyes glint in the lantern light. "Question is, Sheriff, are you willing to let someone like me stand beside you?" His words hang heavy, more unsettling than gunfire. You lie awake long after, staring at the cracked ceiling. The town sleeps, unaware of the storm brewing beyond its borders. You think of the rustler's fear, the prisoner's words, Mason's steady hands. Choices loom. Trust or refuse. Lead or falter. The West offers no easy paths, only trails lined with dust and blood. And in the silence of your room, the truth settles heavy. You may not survive this story. But Dusty Creek must. The jailhouse feels colder than usual with the two rustlers locked inside. Their whispers echo off the stone walls, low and guttural, words you can't quite catch. One sits slumped against the bars, pale from blood loss but still smirking as if he knows more than you'll ever pry from him. The other paces like a caged wolf, eyes sharp, jaw clenched. You lean against the desk, arms crossed, studying them. "Talk now or rot quiet," you say. They exchange a look, then laugh, the sound hollow. It's not you they fear. It's someone else, someone out there. And that knowledge unsettles you more than silence. Later that night, Sue steps into the jailhouse, skirts brushing the dusty floor. She studies the prisoners, then looks at you with eyes that see deeper than most. "They won't break," she murmurs. "Not for you, not for anyone. Men like that are bound by something stronger than law." She places a gentle hand on your arm. "But remember, Sheriff, fear's a chain too. Find the right link, and you can snap it." Her voice lingers in the dim lamplight, a reminder that even iron can bend under the right weight. The next morning, Mason enters the cell without asking. He crouches in front of the pacing rustler, cigarette dangling, voice smooth as polished steel. "Names," he says. "Places. Who gives the orders?" His tone isn't loud, isn't threatening. But there's a sharpness that cuts deeper than fists. The rustler's jaw tightens, and for a moment, you see a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Mason leans closer, smile thin. You think death's the worst thing waiting for you? Think again. You watch silently, unsettled by how easily Mason commands fear. The wounded rustler finally mutters through clenched teeth, "He's called Calder. That's all you'll get." The name hangs in the air like a curse. Mason's eyes flick to you, unreadable. Calder. A name with weight, with history. You've heard it before in passing whispers. A man who organizes not just thieves, but whole networks. A man who turns towns inside out. If Calder's behind this, Dusty Creek isn't just facing rustlers. It's staring into the jaws of something larger. As word spreads, the farmer whose horses were stolen arrives at the jailhouse. His hat is clutched tight in calloused hands, his eyes red but steady. "You brought some of them in," he says. "That's more than I expected. More than most sheriffs would have done." His voice cracks, but pride flickers there too. You nod, not answering. Gratitude feels thin in the face of what's coming. Still, in that small moment, you feel the faintest weight lift from your shoulders. Law isn't just steel, it's also trust. Fragile but real. Not everyone in Dusty Creek is pleased. That night, a group of ranchers gather outside the saloon, anger simmering like hot coals. They mutter about hanging the prisoners, about taking justice into their own hands. When you step into the circle, silence drops heavy. You speak calm but firm, "Law stands or none of us stand." Their eyes burn, but none move forward. Still, you know it's only a matter of time before anger outweighs patience. Before dawn, shouts rise outside. A mob, armed and drunk on fury, marches toward the jail. Torches flare, shadows stretching across the dirt. You stand on the porch, Colt at your hip, voice steady. "Step back." The crowd growls, restless. Someone hurls a rock. It shatters against the wall behind you. Your hand hovers near the gun. Then Mason steps beside you, rifle in hand, gaze cold as stone. His presence quiets them, if only slightly. "Best go home," he says softly, "or bury yourselves here." The mob hesitates, then scatters, fear cutting deeper than rage. When the dust clears, the jailhouse is still standing. You sit inside, lantern flickering, Mason across from you. "They'll come again," you mutter. He shrugs. "Then you'd best be ready." His calm unnerves you. He thrives where others break. But tonight, his shadow kept the jail from burning. You wonder how long before the town realizes that sometimes law stands only because lawless men lend it weight. Whispers of Calder spread through Dusty Creek. Merchants mutter his name in low tones. Ranchers glance nervously at the horizon. The idea of him carries more power than any man should. You try to gather information, but all roads end the same: fear and silence. Whoever Calder is, wherever he moves, his reputation reaches ahead like wildfire. You begin to understand why the rustlers never spoke freely. Some names can choke the tongue. At sunrise, you ride out alone, chasing quiet instead of trails. The prairie stretches endless, dew glistening on the grass. Birds scatter as your horse trots through the mist. For a moment, the world feels untouched, pure. No rustlers, no blood, no law. Just silence. You breathe it in, letting it steady you. But even here, Calder's name rides with you, a shadow that refuses to fade. When you return, Sue waits by the saloon. Her eyes search yours, sharp but kind. "I've seen towns break under less," she says. "Calder doesn't just steal cattle. He steals hearts. Turns neighbors into enemies. Don't let him twist this place before you find him." Her voice carries the weight of someone who's seen too many fights end the same way. You nod, though doubt still gnaws inside. One rustler cracks. Late at night, he whispers through the bars. But I want protection. Calder finds me, I'm dead. His eyes dart, sweat glistening on his forehead. You study him, knowing promises here mean little. Still, he offers what others won't, a route Calder's men use, a canyon to the north where supplies move under cover of dark. His words might be bait, or salvation. Either way, you mark the map. Mason doesn't like it. Could be a trap, he says, cigarette glowing faint in the dark. Men like Calder don't let rats squeal unless they want him to. His eyes bore into yours. You follow that trail, you best be ready to bleed. You meet his stare, unflinching. Then I'll bleed. For a moment, silence. Then Mason laughs low, shaking his head. Damn fool. Maybe that's why you're still alive. At dawn, you gather a smaller group, 6 men willing to risk the canyon. Horses saddled, rifles checked, faces set hard. Mason insists on joining, and though you hesitate, you don't refuse. The air is brittle as glass as you ride north, prairie wind cold against your skin. Each mile feels longer than the last. Every hoofbeat pounds like a countdown toward something none of you can name. By midday, the canyon walls rise around you, red stone towering, sunlight narrowing to slivers. Hoofbeats echo strangely, bouncing until you can't tell where sound begins or ends. The air smells of dust and iron, dry as bone. You ride slow, eyes scanning every ledge. If Calder's men wanted to end you, this would be the place. The thought gnaws at you, but you press forward, badge gleaming faintly in the dim light. Ahead, tracks scatter in the dirt. Wagon wheels. Fresh. Your heart steadies, focus sharp. You dismount, crouching to trace the impressions. At least a dozen riders, maybe more. The canyon walls loom silent above you, like giants watching. Mason kneels beside you, muttering, "Too many." But retreat isn't an option. You've come this far. To turn back now would be to hand Calder the whole prairie. Gunfire shatters the silence. Bullets spark off stone, ricocheting like lightning. You dive for cover as your horse screams, bolting. Men appear on the ridges, rifles flashing, voices shouting. Dust explodes around you. One of your riders falls, blood staining the sand. The canyon becomes a trap sprung tight. You draw your Colt, firing upward, knowing full well the odds aren't yours to claim. The battle rages hot and sharp. Smoke fills the canyon, the stench of powder choking. Men shout, horses shriek, bullets whine. You press against the rock, firing where shadows move. Mason fights like a man born for chaos, each shot deliberate, deadly. Yet for every rustler that falls, more rise from the ridges. The canyon walls close tighter, a tomb built of stone and fire. At last, a break. Mason signals, pointing to a narrow crack in the rock where the wall splits. You shout for the men, driving them toward it. Bullets follow, biting at heels, tearing through dust. One by one, you squeeze through, horses stumbling, men bloodied but alive. Behind you, the canyon roars with gunfire. Ahead lies open prairie, freedom bought with blood. You don't look back. Not yet. When you finally halt, breath ragged, the count comes grim. 2 men dead. 1 badly wounded. Faces pale, eyes hollow. You stare at the blood-soaked bandages, at the empty saddles. Victory feels far away. Mason lights another cigarette, smoke curling from his lips. "Told you it was a trap," he mutters. You don't answer. You can't. The cost weighs heavier than words. Back in Dusty Creek, you drag the rustler who gave you the canyon into the street. The town gathers, faces tight with fury. "You sent us to die," you growl, shoving him against the wall. He laughs, teeth blood-stained. "You think Calder don't plan every move?" You think law means a damn thing to him? His voice rings across the street, feeding fear. For a moment, you want to silence him forever. But the badge presses cold against your chest, reminding you of the line you cannot cross. That night, whispers spread. Some say the sheriff's lost his grip. Some say Mason should lead instead. You hear it all, quiet but sharp, knives behind your back. Dusty Creek doesn't forgive failure easily. And though you returned alive, the canyon's blood lingers heavier than victory. Sue finds you by the well, her voice soft. They doubt because they're scared. Don't let fear speak louder than you. You nod, though the words cut deep. Mason corners you later, voice low, eyes sharp. They're looking at me now, Sheriff, wondering if I'd do better. Truth is, maybe I would. But I ain't wearing that badge. You are. Question is, are you willing to do what law won't? Or are you gonna let Calder eat this town alive? His words hang heavy. It isn't a threat. It's an offer. And offers like Mason's come with shadows attached. In the jailhouse, the wounded rider from your canyon raid stirs. His voice is weak, breath ragged. Sheriff, don't give up. His hand trembles as he grips yours. We ride with you because we believe. Don't let Calder take that. His eyes close, body sagging into uneasy sleep. You sit there, silent, the weight of faith pressing heavier than iron. Sometimes, belief is more dangerous than bullets. A rider gallops into town at dusk, horse lathered, face pale. He tosses a note into your hands before collapsing. The paper is rough, the words scrawled in dark ink, leave Dusty Creek. Or burn with it. No name. No signature. Just a mark at the bottom, 2 crossed knives. Calder's mark. The threat is clear, the promise worse. The town trembles. Families whisper of leaving, packing wagons under moonlight. Merchants close shutters, ranchers sharpen rifles. Dusty Creek feels less like a home and more like a powder keg waiting for a spark. You walk the street, badge gleaming, face steady, but inside, dread coils tight. How do you hold a town together when even its walls feel ready to crumble? In the saloon, Sue rallies her girls, voices sharp, laughter louder than fear. This town don't die tonight, she tells them. Her courage spreads like lantern light, pushing back the shadows. When you thank her, she shrugs. Fear's a poison. Best cure is to choke it with something stronger. Her words ring true. Maybe courage is as contagious as fear, if only you can keep it burning. Late that night, Mason sits across from you, a bottle between you both. He drinks slow, eyes distant. Calder and me, we crossed paths once, he admits. Long time ago. He wanted me in. Said I had the mind for it. I walked away. He meets your eyes, steady. Thing is, Sheriff, he don't forgive men who walk away. If he knows I'm here, he'll come harder. And maybe, just maybe, he'll come for me first. The silence that follows is thick, the fires crackle loud. For the first time, Mason doesn't look untouchable. He looks hunted. The days pass heavy. Riders patrol the outskirts, families huddle in fear, every creak of wood a reminder of danger. The prisoners rot in their cells, eyes watching, silent. You move through it all like a shadow, keeping order where you can, though the weight grows heavier each hour. Dusty Creek waits, breath held, for Calder's hand to strike. And you, weary sheriff, wait with it. One evening, the sky burns red as the sun sinks. You stand at the edge of town, the prairie stretching endless before you. Wind stirs the grass, carrying the scent of dust and rain. Behind you, Dusty Creek lies fragile, trembling. Ahead, Calder's shadow grows long. You rest a hand on your Colt, heart steady. The storm hasn't broken yet. But when it does, you'll be there to meet it. The moon rises pale above Dusty Creek, silver light spilling across rooftops and dirt roads. You walk the main street slow, boots crunching gravel, colt heavy at your hip. Every shadow feels alive. Windows glow faintly, curtains drawn tight, families whispering behind them. The jail stands at the far end, lantern burning low, prisoners quiet for once. The stillness is thick, unnatural. Mason walks beside you, rifle resting on his shoulder. Neither of you speak much. Sometimes silence says enough. The air smells of dust and wood smoke, but beneath it, you sense something else. An edge, a waiting. Dusty Creek isn't sleeping. It's holding its breath. In the quiet hours, Sue calls you into the saloon. She pours 2 cups of strong coffee, eyes fixed on you. There's talk Calder's already in town, she says softly. Not his men, him. Her words hang heavy. Someone's seen a stranger riding alone at night, keeping to the edges. Tall, dark coat, broad hat. Doesn't speak. Just watches. You sip bitter coffee, heart steadying against the unease. If Calder's already here, every step you take might already be under his gaze. Sue leans closer, voice dropping. Be careful. He's not just a man. He's a storm waiting to break. At dawn, you find a note pinned to the door of the jail. No words this time, only that same mark. 2 crossed knives, drawn deep enough to scar the wood. You run your fingers across the grooves, splinters biting. It's more than a threat. It's a promise. I am here. Mason studies it and mutters, man's playin' with us. You nod, though inside, unease coils tighter. Calder doesn't shout his presence. He whispers, let's fear do the shouting for him. And it's working. Later, at the livery, the stable boy runs to you wide-eyed. Sheriff. The horses, something spooked him last night. You walk the rows of stalls, watching the animals shift nervously, ears twitching, eyes rolling white. Horses don't lie. They sense danger before men do. You kneel, touching the dirt where tracks cut sharp and clean. Boot prints. Not many, just one man. Moving carefully. Watching. The boy whispers, you think it's him? You don't answer. You already know. One of the prisoners begins coughing in the cell, body racked, blood flecking his lips. Within hours, he's gone, slumped lifeless against the bars. The other rustler stares at you with hollow eyes. He's making sure none of us live long enough to talk, he mutters. Fear lines his face deeper than age ever could. You bury the dead man at the edge of town, dirt piled high under the open sky. Dusty Creek gathers silently, no prayers spoken. In the west, sometimes the ground speaks louder than words. That night, you lie awake in your rope-strung bed above Murphy's store. The straw mattress scratches, the wool blanket heavy but not warm. The sound of boots creaking outside keeps you from sleep. Are they real, or just your mind twisting shadows? You stare at the ceiling beams, feeling the weight of the badge on the table beside you. Law feels small compared to the storm coming. You close your eyes, breathing slow, telling yourself tomorrow will bring light. But even in dreams, you know Calder waits. Over breakfast, Mason finally speaks more of Calder. He don't lead like most men, he says, chewing slow. He don't bark orders. He listens. He waits. And when he moves, it feels like your own idea to follow him. He pauses, staring into his coffee. That's why he's dangerous. You can't shoot a man's shadow. And Calder is more shadow than flesh. His words chill more than the morning air. You realize Mason isn't just describing an enemy. He's describing a ghost that never left him. Late one evening, you pass the saloon and notice a single candle burning in the upstairs window. Sue sits there, gazing out into the night, her face pale in the soft light. When you knock, she lets you in without a word. A candle drives shadows back, she says quietly. Even just a little. She gestures at the flame, small but steady. This town needs its light, Sheriff. Doesn't matter how small. Don't let Calder snuff it out. Her words settle in you, fragile but firm, like a thread keeping everything from unraveling. At your desk, you leaf through the old ledger, the pages filled with names, fines, taxes, and deaths. Every sheriff before you has left a mark, their handwriting shaky, rushed, or steady. Some entries end abruptly, mid-sentence, the ink trailing off. The record is less a book of law and more a graveyard of unfinished stories. You add your own marks slowly, careful. You wonder if someday another hand will read your last line. A small girl brings you a folded scrap of paper. "Mama said to give this to you," she says shyly. Inside is a crude drawing, stick figures, a badge on one, the sun rising behind. She says you keep us safe. You thank her softly, heart catching in your throat. The drawing is clumsy, innocent, but it carries more weight than any gun. You tuck it into your coat pocket, a reminder of what the badge still means, even when fear darkens the horizon. Dusty Creek grows quieter by the day. Shops close early, saloon laughter thins. The church bell rings only once a week now. You walk the main street, boots echoing in emptiness. The town feels less alive, more like a stage waiting for the final act. Even the wind seems muted, carrying whispers instead of song. You grip your badge, reminding yourself that even silence is worth defending. One morning, Murphy shows you something left on his counter overnight. A black hat, broad-brimmed, dusted with red clay not found anywhere near town. No note, no message. Just the hat. Mason studies it with a dark expression. That's his. Man leaves tokens like breadcrumbs. Lets you know you're being hunted, not the other way around. You hold the hat, the felt rough beneath your fingers. It smells of sweat and smoke. And it feels like a line drawn in dirt. The men you've gathered as deputies grow restless. They mutter in corners, asking if this fight's worth it. One even hands you back his badge, mumbling something about family waiting elsewhere. You don't stop him. A badge means nothing if the hand carrying it shakes. You tell the others the truth, Calder's coming. Staying means choosing danger. Some meet your eyes with resolve. Others look away. Law is never numbers. It's the weight of the few who stay. You ride out under moonlight, alone this time. The prairie stretches silver, the stars sharp against the dark. Every hoofbeat echoes, the sound too loud in the stillness. You ride to clear your head, but the land feels heavy, as if holding its breath. At the far ridge, you spot movement. A rider watching. When you spur forward, he vanishes into the shadows. You don't follow. Some ghosts lead only into graves. Widow Thompson comes to see you, her face lined with worry but her voice steady. "Sheriff, I've buried a husband. I won't bury my sons. Tell me straight, should we leave?" You look at her, at the strength holding her upright. "I can't promise safety," you admit. "But if you leave," Calder wins without firing a shot. She nods slowly, eyes hardening. "Then I'll stay. But God help you if I regret it." Her faith feels heavier than iron. An old ranch hand corners you outside the saloon. His voice is gravel, his hands shaking. "I saw Calder once. Years back. He don't talk loud. Don't have to. Just looks at you, and you feel like the ground's already dug beneath your feet. His eyes glisten with memory. Ain't no bullet made yet that can kill a man like that. You thank him, though his words give little comfort. Legends weigh heavier than flesh. That night, no sound fills Dusty Creek. No dogs bark, no wind blows, no drunks stumble. Just silence, deep and unbroken. You patrol the empty street, nerves raw. The jail lantern flickers, shadows stretching too long. Mason joins you muttering, "It's too quiet." You nod. Quiet can be louder than gunfire when danger lurks. The whole town sleeps, or pretends to. Even the stars seem to watch without blinking. Near dawn, a single gunshot cracks the silence. You sprint to the edge of town, Colt drawn, heart pounding. There, in the dust, lies another mark carved into wood, 2 crossed knives burned deep into a fence post. No body, no shooter, just the echo of the shot fading into the hills. It's a message, not an attack. Calder reminding you he controls the silence, the sound, the fear. You holster your Colt, jaw tight. Every step he takes is inside your head. The town preacher, pale and tired, stops you in the street. Sheriff fears a plague. But plagues end when people believe in something stronger. He grips your hand, voice trembling. You are that belief. Don't falter. You nod, though his faith feels heavier than any sermon. Belief can hold a town upright, or crush the man carrying it. Late one evening, you catch Mason sitting alone behind the jail, cigarette glowing faint in the dark. His expression is unreadable. You ever think maybe Calder's right? He asks softly. Law's a chain. Men don't like chains. Maybe freedom comes from breaking them. His words slice deep, not from malice but from truth. You stare at him, realizing Mason isn't just fighting Calder. He's fighting himself. A child's voice drifts through the night, soft, broken, singing a lullaby outside her home. The sound is fragile, but it carries across the silent street. For a moment, even Mason listens, eyes softening. That, he mutters, that's why you wear the badge. Her song fades, but the echo lingers, a reminder that innocence still breathes in Dusty Creek. You tuck the sound into your heart like armor. The town merchant approaches, wringing his hands. Sheriff, folks are scared. Sales are down, wagons half-packed. They're waiting for you to make a stand. Tell us, what's the plan? His eyes plead for certainty you don't have. You answer steady, even if hollow inside. We stand. That's the plan. He nods, forcing a smile. Lies can be softer than truth when fear demands hope. Clouds gather heavy, rolling across the sky. Thunder growls low, lightning flashing at the horizon. Rain lashes Dusty Creek, pounding rooftops, filling streets with mud. You stand in it, soaked, eyes closed, letting the storm wash over you. It feels like a warning. Nature itself echoing Calder's presence. The town huddles inside, lanterns glowing faint through wet glass. The storm passes, leaving silence thicker than before. That night, sleep finally takes you, but dreams twist. You see Dusty Creek burning, torches in the dark, Calder's shadow towering above the flames. Your badge melts in the fire, turning to ash. You wake in a sweat, heart racing, breath shallow. The nightmare clings like cobwebs, refusing to fade. You dress in silence, unable to return to sleep. Sometimes the mind warns of storms before they arrive. The next morning, one of the ranchers reports a missing horse. Not stolen in the night, but left saddled, reins cut, rider gone. Tracks show the man was taken, dragged off into the prairie. The rancher's wife cries quietly, children clutching her skirts. You promise to search, though you already know, Calder doesn't take men to ransom. He takes them to send messages. At the edge of town, you find the missing rancher. His body hangs from a cottonwood tree, boots swinging gently in the wind. Pinned to his chest is another mark, 2 crossed knives cut deep into the wood. Dusty Creek gathers in silence as you cut him down. No words are spoken. Grief doesn't need words. The children's sobs echo louder than gunfire. Calder has spoken again, and louder this time. That evening, you call a town meeting in the church. Families crowd the pews, faces pale, eyes searching yours. You stand before them, voice steady. Calder wants us broken. Wants us scattered. But if we scatter, we hand him victory. We stay. We fight. Murmurs ripple, fear against resolve. Some nod, others shake their heads. Mason watches from the back, unreadable. The town waits, fragile, for courage to outweigh terror. After the meeting, you linger in the church. The preacher kneels alone, whispering prayers. His voice trembles, but his hands stay clasped. You sit beside him, silent. For once, words feel unnecessary. The prayer isn't just his. It belongs to everyone in Dusty Creek. A town's faith, fragile and flickering, rising against the storm. Outside, Mason falls into step with you. They'll follow you, he says quietly. Not because they trust law, but because they trust you. Don't forget that. His tone is softer than usual, almost kind. For once, the shadow in his voice eases. You nod, letting his words settle. Law may be a badge, but leadership is heavier. And Mason, for all his darkness, is standing beside you, for now. Dusty Creek lies under stars, quiet but tense. Lanterns glow in windows, rifles rest near doors, mothers hush children to sleep. You walk the streets slow, breath fogging in the cool night. Every step echoes louder than it should. Calder hasn't struck yet, but the town knows he will. The air is thick with waiting. You rest a hand on your badge, on your colt, and whisper to yourself, "Not tonight. Not while I breathe." The wind shifts overnight, carrying an unfamiliar scent of smoke and iron. You wake before dawn, boots hitting the floor quietly. Mason is already awake, leaning against the doorway with his rifle across his knees. Tracks, he mutters, eyes narrowing. They're close. Too close. Outside, the prairie is still, almost deceptively so. You squint into the darkness, feeling eyes on the town, though you can't see them. The world holds its breath, and you know Calder moves with patience, letting fear spread like a shadow before him. A rider bursts into town as the sun's first light touches the rooftops. Dust clouds curl around the horse's hooves. The rider hands you a sealed letter, trembling. The seal is unfamiliar, jagged, Calder's mark. You break it carefully, reading the message. Abandon Dusty Creek, or I collect what belongs to me. The words are short, sharp, like a knife. Mason studies it and mutters, nothing new. Just a reminder. He wants us scared. You tuck the note into your coat, heart steadying, fingers brushing the colt at your hip. By mid-morning, Dusty Creek hums with quiet activity. Boards are nailed over windows, fences repaired, horses tethered closer. Families move with hushed urgency, whispered conversations filling the air. You ride down the main street, checking in with each household, nodding but speaking little. Every eye watches yours for reassurance. You feel the weight of responsibility heavier than your badge. The town isn't just waiting. It's leaning on you, fragile as a candle in the wind, and you know one false move could snuff that light. Mason rides to the canyon edge, scouting shadows, moving silently as a fox. He returns hours later, face set, eyes hard. No sign yet, he says. But something's watching. He's always watching. You watch him dismount, rifle in hand, the practiced ease of a man born for this life. His presence is both comforting and frightening. In this lawless land, Mason is your edge, your shadow. And sometimes, you wonder if he's the only thing keeping Dusty Creek standing between the prairie and Calder's wrath. Sue finds you in the saloon, polishing a glass that's never really clean. Fear spreads faster than bullets, she says, voice low. You need to show them you're still in charge, or Calder will have them turning on each other. You nod, sipping the bitter coffee she pours. Outside, a few townsfolk linger, curious but cautious. Sue smiles faintly, sharp as always. Courage isn't just bullets, Sheriff. It's in every choice you make to stand, even when everything wants you to fall. One of your deputies rushes into the office, panting. Scout from the Circle K ranch. Says he saw men on the ridge moving fast. You grab your coat, holster your Colt, and ride out with Mason. Tracks are faint but clear, horses and riders, shadows in the dust. The prairie is wide and empty, but the air feels dense, heavy with anticipation. Every step, every hoofbeat echoes in the still morning, reminding you Calder's reach might already be longer than Dusty Creek can see. You arrive at the Circle K ranch, greeted by wary faces and anxious hands. The ranchers explain what they saw, a small band of riders, masked, moving along the ridges as if the land itself whispered their path. You nod, making mental notes, eyes scanning the horizon. Mason points silently, spotting subtle movement among distant rocks. They're testing us, he mutters. Seeing what we do. Waiting for the wrong step. You tighten your grip on your Colt, heart steady, knowing every decision now could cost lives. Back in town, you ride slow down the main street, eyes meeting those of families leaning out windows. Every gaze holds the same mix of fear and hope. Children peek from behind curtains. Merchants clutch ledgers. Even Murphy steps outside his store, hat in hand, nodding silently. You realize that every step you take, every word you speak, carries weight beyond law. You are the center around which this fragile town turns. And Calder knows it. At dusk, a stranger appears on the ridge, silhouetted by the dying sun. The shape is familiar from Mason's warnings. Broad hat, dark coat, moving with purpose. You halt, Colt ready. The stranger watches, unmoving. Then, with deliberate calm, he turns and disappears into the prairie. The wind carries his scent faintly, smoke, iron, and something else, something cold. Calder's message is clear. He's near, waiting, testing your resolve. Later, you sit alone by the jail, lantern flickering, notebook open. Records, fines, and maps litter the desk. You trace tracks, mark patrol routes, and study every report. Outside, the wind whispers through dust-laden streets. You think of the families sleeping, of the badge heavy on your chest. Law here isn't paper and ink, it's every breath, every heartbeat you control. And now, more than ever, law must stand against a shadow that can reach farther than any man can aim. Mason kneels beside you, voice low. He's watching. Always. His eyes scan the horizon. If Calder moves tonight, he'll know who's loyal, who's weak, and he'll strike at both. You nod, listening to the prairie silence, broken only by distant animals. His words settle like stones in your chest. You understand, survival isn't about hiding, it's about standing firm while a storm grows. You gather Dusty Creek's leaders quietly in Murphy's store. Plans are drawn, patrols assigned, lookouts positioned. Everyone knows their place. The town hums with tension, silent understanding. Stay close. Watch each other. Trust me, you say softly. Faces tighten, nods given, some reluctant, some determined. Law isn't enough, strategy must be as steady as courage. Outside, the wind shakes the dust off roofs, carrying the distant sound of a world beyond your reach. Night deepens, bringing stars that seem too distant to comfort you. Dusty Creek falls quiet, doors barred, lanterns lit. You walk the streets slowly, Colt ready, senses sharp. Every shadow might be an enemy, every whisper a lie. Mason patrols the ridges beyond town. The air smells of cold earth and distant smoke. The town waits, breath held, for the first sign that Calder is finally ready to act. A shot rings out from the ridge, distant but deliberate. Horses neigh, dogs bark, windows rattle. Mason signals, rifle in hand. You ride toward the sound, Colt ready. Dust clouds rise faint in the moonlight, shadows moving in patterns too precise to be random. Calder isn't attacking blindly. He's testing, probing, learning. You know the first skirmish is coming, and every choice now will echo louder than gunfire. You reach the ridge, empty except for disturbed dust and hoofprints. No enemy in sight. Mason grunts, scanning the horizon. They're close, he mutters. Too close for comfort. You nod, fingers brushing the trigger. The prairie is deceptively still, as if holding its breath. You understand this is Calder's game. Control through fear, patience, silence. You and Mason wait, statues of vigilance, knowing the next move may decide everything. A distant horn echoes across Dusty Creek. Horses stamp, families peek from windows. You return slowly, Colt ready. The sound carries panic, but also alertness. Calder wants the town awake, aware, trembling. Every ear listens, every heart pounds. You nod at Mason, silently agreeing. Tonight will test them all. Not with fire, perhaps, but with presence, the quiet terror of a shadow that watches and waits. Back in Murphy's store, you check the supplies, ammunition, water, and weapons. Mason watches, cigarette glowing faintly in the dark. We're running out of time, he mutters. Calder's patience isn't endless. You nod, loading bullets slowly, deliberately. Every shot counts. Every misstep could spell disaster. The town sleeps uneasily behind thick doors, unaware of how close danger has crept, yet trusting the shadow that protects them. Widow Thompson visits quietly, candle in hand. I won't leave, she whispers. Not for him, not for anyone. Her eyes are steel beneath exhaustion. You nod, hand resting lightly on hers. Courage like hers fuels the town more than any rifle. Outside, wind rattles roofs, whispering through empty streets. You take her resolve into your heart, ready to meet the storm Calder brings, however long it takes. Mason stands watch at the edge of town, rifle raised, eyes scanning every shadow. You sit below, Colt resting, heart steady but aware. He's near, Mason mutters. I can feel it. The air tastes different. Silence stretches across the prairie, broken only by distant animal calls. You nod. Calder is patient, but not invincible. Every breath, every heartbeat counts. And tonight, Dusty Creek waits, holding its fragile courage close. A shadow moves along the distant ridge, tall, deliberate, silent. You spot the outline of a man on horseback. The coat is dark, the hat broad. The presence alone radiates control, power, patience. Calder is here, or at least his vanguard. The wind shifts, carrying his scent faintly, iron, smoke, and something else, cold, inevitable. You grip the Colt, feeling the weight of every soul in Dusty Creek pressing against your chest. Dusty Creek lies quiet beneath the stars. Lanterns glow faintly in windows, rifles at the ready, families clutching each other. You walk the main street slowly, Colt at your hip, senses sharp. Mason returns, nodding silently. Soon, he mutters. Soon he'll test us. The night feels heavy, time stretching like taffy. Every step echoes louder than it should. Every shadow carries the whisper of an approaching storm. You gather townsfolk at the saloon, instructing them quietly. Windows boarded, rifles ready, lookouts posted on rooftops. Children and women are kept inside. The men you trust patrol silently, moving like shadows themselves. Mason stands by, silent but present. The town is ready as it can be. Dusty Creek waits. And as the wind whistles through the empty streets, you know tonight will change everything. From the ridge, a single lantern flickers faintly. You spot it immediately, alerting Mason beside you. A signal. Test or warning, you don't know. You grip your Colt tighter, scanning the horizon. Dusty Creek is holding its breath, every heartbeat echoing louder than gunfire. Calder is patient, but every shadow carries his will. Tonight, the town waits on the edge of a knife. Mason crouches beside you, eyes hard. They'll come. But we're ready. Not invincible, but ready. He glances at the town sleeping below. You keep your head, Sheriff. So will they. You nod, letting the weight settle. Courage is contagious if you hold it tight. Dusty Creek's fate will hinge on steady hands and steady hearts. The night stretches long, stars unblinking above, waiting for the first move. From the church bell tower, you climb to the top, scanning the surrounding prairie. Lanterns glint faintly in distant windows, townsfolk vigilant but fearful. Mason joins, rifle ready. The prairie lies quiet, but the stillness is sharp, like a blade pressed against your chest. Every shadow could be a threat. Every flicker of movement might signal the storm's first strike. You breathe slow, heart steady. Dusty Creek waits. And you watch, sentinel against darkness. Movement. Shadows shift on the distant ridge. You signal Mason, who drops low, eyes scanning. A rider approaches slowly, deliberate. Not yet attacking, just testing. The air feels taut, ready to snap. You grip the Colt, heart steady. The townsfolk below remain hidden, waiting, trusting you to be the line between their lives and Calder's shadow. The first test is here, and every choice will echo forever. A second rider appears, carrying no weapons, but leaving a trail of fear. He rides close enough to see the town's lights, then stops abruptly. He drops a small package, turning back before any reaction. Mason retrieves it, wary. Inside, a note. Your choice will decide your town. No name. No signature. Just a promise. Calder's presence is felt without a shot fired. Dusty Creek trembles, but does not break. Despite the late hour, townsfolk awaken quietly, guided by your patrols. Everyone knows something is coming. They move silently, forming lines, patrolling streets, watching windows. Children huddle inside, hands gripping blankets. Dusty Creek is alive, alert, waiting for the first strike. You walk among them, calming where you can, commanding where necessary. Every heartbeat counts. Every breath is a preparation for what's coming. Silence thickens, heavy as lead. The ridge holds no movement now, only waiting. The prairie stretches in shadow, empty yet expectant. You feel it, the calm before the storm. Dusty Creek is ready as it can be. Mason scans constantly, Colt in hand. The town trusts your presence more than any barricade. And somewhere in the darkness, Calder watches, calculating, patient. The first night of the reckoning begins. The moon hangs low, silver light washing the streets in quiet luminescence. You walk the main street slowly, Colt ready, lanterns flickering in every window. Mason joins silently at your side. Dusty Creek sleeps uneasily, families clutching hope and fear alike. The prairie beyond waits, quiet, shadows stretched long. Calder's presence is near. The night stretches, waiting for his first move. And you, Sheriff of Dusty Creek, are all that stands between the town and the shadow closing in. A faint sound reaches your ears, almost swallowed by the night wind. Footsteps, deliberate, measured, coming from the prairie beyond the ridge. You tense, Colt in hand, Mason crouched beside you. The sound is unnerving because it's precise, controlled. Calder doesn't rush. He tests, observes, lets fear do his bidding before any bullet flies. Dusty Creek stirs silently, hearts beating in quiet anticipation. Every movement you make feels magnified, echoing through the town like a drumbeat warning of a coming storm. A subtle shift in the wind causes lanterns along Main Street to sway and flicker. Shadows stretch and twist across the buildings. You pause, eyes scanning every corner, every alley. Mason murmurs, "He's closer than we think." The air is heavy with the scent of smoke and iron, barely noticeable but unmistakable. Even the horses in the livery shift nervously. Dusty Creek seems to hold its breath. Night stretches, long and tense, waiting for the first sign that Calder will act. One of the scouts you sent out returns silently, a figure emerging from the ridge like a ghost. He hands you a small piece of parchment, hands trembling. No words, just a warning symbol carved into the paper. Crossed knives, sharp and deliberate. Mason's jaw tightens. "He's marking his territory," he mutters. You tuck the note into your coat, the weight of the threat pressing against your chest. Every shadow now feels alive, every whisper of wind a possible warning. Dusty Creek is tense, waiting for the inevitable. You gather the deputies in Murphy's back room, soft voices barely disturbing the quiet of the night. "He's patient," you whisper, "and we can't predict his moves. Watch, listen, trust your instincts." Mason leans against the wall, rifle ready, eyes scanning even in the dim light. Plans are repeated, locations reinforced, patrols assigned. The town depends on you, but tonight, every heartbeat counts as much as any strategy. Silence presses against your ears like a living thing. Widow Thompson kneels by her window, hands clasped tightly around a candle. You pause outside her house, heart steady. "Sleep if you can," you whisper. She shakes her head. "Not tonight, Sheriff. I'll watch with you." You nod, moving down the street slowly. Dusty Creek sleeps uneasily, every flicker of light a fragile shield against the unknown. Outside, the prairie waits, silent, patient, harboring the storm that Calder brings. Mason slips quietly into the shadows, moving toward the ridge, rifle in hand. You follow a few steps behind, observing, listening. The prairie stretches in silver moonlight, deceptively calm. Tracks are faint but present, suggesting movement, always movement, testing your attention. Mason pauses, scanning the horizon, eyes narrowed. "They're out there," he whispers. "Watching. Waiting. They'll strike when the town least expects it." You nod silently. Tonight, vigilance is everything. A distant owl hoots, echoing over the prairie. Mason freezes, hand tightening on the rifle. You glance toward the ridge. Shadows shift subtly, as if the land itself trembles. Every sound seems amplified in the quiet, every movement laden with meaning. Calder's presence is a whisper, a shadow stretched long across Dusty Creek. The town remains unaware of how near he is, but you feel it in every nerve, every heartbeat. Lanterns glow softly, flickering against the walls of boarded windows. Families huddle inside, gripping each other quietly. You walk the streets slowly, Colt-ready, eyes scanning every shadow. The night is thick with tension, heavy with anticipation. Mason patrols the ridge beyond, silent as a specter. Dusty Creek feels fragile, poised on the edge of a knife. Every breath, every movement could change everything. The town waits, trusting the line between life and shadow that you hold. From the ridge, a small group of figures moves carefully, almost like whispers against the wind. Mason observes through his binoculars, noting every detail. They do not attack yet. They test, gauge reactions, and disappear again into the shadows. You tighten your grip on your Colt, heart steady. This is Calder's game: patience, intimidation, observation. Dusty Creek waits silently, unaware of the eyes watching every movement. Night stretches on, tension mounting with each passing minute. Murphy finds you checking the barricades again, hands dusted from hammering nails. He nods silently. "You're doing enough," he says softly. His eyes hold unspoken worry, but also trust. You take a slow breath, nodding. Dusty Creek sleeps uneasily, families clutching hope, not yet aware of the shadow pressing closer. Even the wind seems hushed, waiting for the first crack, the first signal that the storm is coming. Mason returns from the ridge, rifle slung over his shoulder, face tense. "They're close," he mutters. Patience is part of their weapon. You nod silently. The town is fragile tonight, every window a watchful eye, every street a silent prayer. Dusty Creek holds its breath. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the creak of boards, the distant animal call, feels amplified. Calder is near, patient, precise, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. You sit on the porch of the sheriff's office, notebook in hand. Moonlight casts long shadows across the dusty streets. Thoughts of families, deputies, and townsfolk weigh heavy. Every decision, every patrol route, every word carries consequence. The badge is heavy on your chest, but heavier still is the responsibility. Dusty Creek depends on your steadiness. Outside, the prairie whispers, a quiet threat in the night. Calder's shadow stretches far, but so does your resolve. A single lantern flickers faintly on the edge of town, signaling a lookout. You nod to the man silently, heart steady. The prairie beyond is empty, or so it seems. Shadows shift subtly, wind stirs dust in spirals, and every sound feels sharper. Mason patrols nearby, eyes scanning. The town sleeps fragilely, unaware of the ghostly presence drawing closer. Tonight, every breath is measured, every heartbeat a shield. Outside Dusty Creek, the prairie stretches in silver moonlight, deceptively calm. Tracks in the dirt show faint signs of movement. You scan the horizon, Colt ready, senses sharp. Mason mutters beside you, voice low. He's out there. Always watching. Patient. You nod. Calder doesn't rush. He allows fear to grow before striking. Dusty Creek sleeps uneasy, and you know every shadow might conceal his intent. From a distant window, a child hums softly, voice trembling but persistent. The sound floats over the empty streets, fragile but comforting. You pause, listening. Mason glances at you silently. Sometimes courage is not in the Colt or rifle, but in the small acts that remind people of life beyond fear. Dusty Creek's hope flickers like a candle in the darkness. The prairie waits, patient, for the storm's first move. A shot rings far in the distance, faint but deliberate. Horses stamp, dogs bark, windows rattle. Mason signals silently, eyes scanning. You grip the Colt tighter. It's a test, not yet a battle. Dusty Creek stirs in quiet alarm, waiting for the first true move. Every heartbeat echoes like gunfire. The shadow stretches closer. Calder is patient, precise, and already shaping the night to his will. Families stir quietly, guided by your deputies. Every lantern, every door, every breath is careful. Dusty Creek moves in soft, deliberate motions, aware something approaches, but unsure what. You walk the main street slowly, Colt ready, eyes scanning shadows. Mason joins, silent, ever vigilant. The town holds its fragile composure. Outside, the prairie waits, patient, stretching the night into suspense. In every home, candles flicker softly. Children clutch blankets, parents murmur prayers. You walk the streets slowly, Colt in hand, eyes sharp. Mason patrols the ridges beyond town. Silence dominates, thick and oppressive. Dusty Creek is alive with anticipation. Every shadow, every sound, every whisper carries weight. Calder waits in the darkness, shaping fear into precision, patient as the night stretches on. A scout returns from the ridge, quiet and tense. He hands you a small note, a warning symbol scratched into the paper, crossed knives. Mason's jaw tightens. The message is clear. Calder is testing your vigilance. Dusty Creek is on edge. You nod silently, feeling the weight of responsibility. Every breath counts. Every shadow might conceal the first spark of action. The night stretches, waiting for the storm to fall. You stand at the center of Main Street, Colt ready, lanterns glowing faintly. Dusty Creek streets are quiet, boarded, waiting. Mason at your side, rifle in hand, eyes scanning the ridge. The prairie stretches empty, or so it seems. Every heartbeat feels louder than gunfire. Calder is out there, watching, patient. And you, Sheriff of Dusty Creek, are the line between a town of fragile hope and the shadow closing in. The night is thick, tense, and waiting for the first strike. The night stretches long, moonlight silvering every dusty street. Dusty Creek is silent, each building a shadow, every window a watchful eye. You walk slowly down Main Street, Colt resting in your grip. Mason moves beside you, eyes scanning the horizon, muscles taut. The wind carries faint whispers from the prairie, soft, deliberate, unsettling. Calder is patient. He's close. And Dusty Creek feels smaller under the weight of his shadow. Every heartbeat echoes louder than any gunshot. You crouch by the edge of town, examining faint tracks in the dirt. Horse hooves, careful but deliberate, lead toward the ridge. Mason leans down beside you, nodding. Testing us, he mutters. The prairie seems still, but every swirl of dust, every snap of a twig, feels amplified in the quiet night. You straighten slowly, Colt ready. Dusty Creek sleeps fragilely behind boarded windows. Every step, every sound, every shadow might carry the first spark of danger. Lanterns flicker across the town, casting warm but fragile light on the wooden streets. Families huddle inside, blankets drawn tight. You walk quietly past each home, offering a nod or whispered reassurance. Mason patrols silently along the ridge. Dusty Creek waits, every sense on edge, every heartbeat tense. The town is aware of the shadow pressing close, yet unaware of its shape. Calder watches patiently, letting fear do his bidding before any move is made. Murphy leans against the doorframe of his store, face etched with worry. "Stay steady, Sheriff," he says softly. "They're close. You can feel it, can't you?" You nod slowly, tucking the weight of responsibility into your shoulders. Every sound, hoofbeats, wind, distant wildlife, feels magnified tonight. Dusty Creek is alive with anticipation, each citizen a fragile heartbeat against the creeping shadow. The night stretches, patient, deliberate, waiting. From the ridge, faint movement catches Mason's eye. Shadows shift among the rocks, subtle and deliberate. You raise the Colt, heart steady, senses sharp. The prairie seems almost unreal in the silver moonlight, quiet yet tense. Dusty Creek sleeps behind boarded doors, unaware of the eyes tracing their streets. Calder's patience is deliberate, his presence felt without sound. Every heartbeat counts. Every shadow is alive. A lantern flickers faintly on the distant ridge. Mason signals, eyes narrowing. A warning or a test, maybe both. The wind shifts, carrying faint scents, smoke, iron, something colder. You tighten your grip on your Colt, body ready. Dusty Creek holds its breath, each family unaware of the line you walk, the quiet tension pressing against the town like the weight of the night itself. Every second stretches, heavy with anticipation. Main Street lies empty, every window dark, every lantern guarded by shadowed townsfolk. You walk slowly, Colt in hand, senses sharp, listening to the wind stir dust across the wooden planks. Mason patrols beyond town, scanning for movement. Dusty Creek waits, quiet and tense. Each heartbeat echoes in the night, magnified. Calder watches, patient, deliberate. The first strike is near, and the town is ready only because you stand at its center. You climb the church tower slowly, lantern swinging faintly at your side. From this vantage, the entire town glimmers under moonlight, fragile and beautiful. Mason joins silently beside you. The ridge beyond the prairie lies still, almost too calm. Every shadow seems to shift with intent. Calder tests patience. Dusty Creek sleeps behind its wooden walls, unaware of how near danger lurks. You take a slow breath, hands steady on your Colt, eyes sharp, every sense tuned to the silence. From the ridge, a single figure emerges, deliberate, patient, observing. Mason whispers, he's testing the town. Seeing who moves, who hesitates. You nod, eyes narrowing, heart steady. Dusty Creek waits below, unaware. The night holds its breath, stretching long, every sound magnified. The figure pauses, letting the wind carry his presence. Calder is patient, controlling, his shadow spreading silently across the prairie. Every heartbeat now feels like a countdown. You descend slowly, walking the streets of Dusty Creek, Colt ready, lantern light flickering against the boarded windows. Mason trails silently, eyes on the ridge. Families huddle quietly, trusting the line you hold between them and the shadow beyond. The prairie stretches silver and still, but you feel Calder's presence in every gust of wind, every shifting shadow. Night stretches long and tense. The first confrontation inches closer. You stand firm, steady, a guardian against the encroaching darkness. A distant hoofbeat, deliberate and slow, reaches your ears. Mason freezes, eyes sharp. The shadow beyond the ridge stirs subtly. Dusty Creek waits, fragile, silent. Every heartbeat echoes louder than the night itself. You grip your Colt tightly. Calder's presence is near. Tonight, the town stands only because you hold the line. Every second stretches, heavy with anticipation, the prairie waiting to release its tension. The distant sound grows louder, deliberate, steady, echoing across the silver prairie. Mason crouches low, rifle ready, eyes scanning the ridge. You feel the tension in every muscle, hand brushing the Colt. Dusty Creek remains still, every window a fragile eye watching the empty streets. The town is unaware of the shadow approaching. Every heartbeat in this quiet town feels magnified, echoing in rhythm with the hoofbeats that promise the first confrontation. Lanterns sway in their holders as the wind shifts. The light flickers across the dust-laden streets, casting long, uncertain shadows. You move slowly, deliberately, Colt in hand. Families huddle in the shadows of their homes, unaware of the shape looming on the ridge. Mason signals silently, eyes narrowing. The first movement is deliberate, almost ceremonial, a warning that the calm of Dusty Creek is about to be tested. A figure emerges, tall, deliberate, watching, its silhouette sharp against the moonlit ridge. You tighten your grip on your Colt, muscles coiled. Mason whispers, "That's him." Close enough to feel. Dusty Creek waits below, fragile and silent, each heartbeat echoing across the wooden planks of Main Street. The prairie stretches wide and silver, holding the shadow still for a moment longer, as if testing the resolve of the town before the first strike. You gather your deputies quietly, giving soft instructions. Watch, wait, stay calm. Every step counts. Mason nods beside you, scanning the horizon. Families remain inside, holding breath, trusting you as their steady line. Dusty Creek stands poised, every heartbeat fragile. Outside, the shadow shifts subtly, waiting. The night stretches long, taut, each second thick with anticipation, the first confrontation slowly approaching with inevitable weight. The wind carries faint whispers from the ridge, rustling dry grass and loose dust. Every sound feels amplified, deliberate, signaling presence. Mason shifts slightly, adjusting his aim. You nod, body steady, senses sharp. Dusty Creek remains still, every soul unaware but dependent on the line you hold. The shadow stretches closer, patient, precise. Every heartbeat feels longer, heavier, the night pressing against the town like a living, breathing thing. From a ridge, a pair of eyes glint faintly, watching, calculating. You notice them immediately, heart steady. Mason mutters, testing. Seeing who moves. Dusty Creek holds its breath below, unaware. Shadows twist in the lantern light, every plank of wood echoing tension. The night stretches endlessly, patient. Calder's presence is near, deliberate, ready to strike when the town's line shows any hesitation. Main Street lies empty, streets quiet, lanterns casting soft, fragile light. You move slowly, Colt ready, eyes scanning every shadow. Mason patrols silently along the ridge, fingers tense on the trigger. Dusty Creek is alive with tension, unaware but alert. Every heartbeat counts. Every whisper of wind carries meaning. Calder watches, patient, shaping fear, testing the resolve of the town before making his first decisive move. A subtle shift in the ridge. Movement, deliberate, measured, almost ceremonial. Mason signals, eyes narrow. You grip your Colt tighter. Dusty Creek waits silently, every window a fragile eye on the empty streets. The town is unaware of the precise weight of the shadow approaching. Every heartbeat echoes louder than gunfire. The prairie holds its breath, the night thick with suspense, ready to release tension in the first confrontation. The moon hangs low, silvering every roof and plank. Dusty Creek is silent, holding its fragile breath. You walk slowly down Main Street, Colt ready, every sense tuned to the ridge. Mason stands vigilant at the edge, eyes scanning. The shadow is near, deliberate, controlling the prairie with presence alone. Families clutch blankets. Lanterns flicker. Every heartbeat counts. The line between life and fear tightens, waiting for the inevitable strike that will shape the night. Dawn creeps faintly across the horizon, painting the dust in gold. From the ridge, Calder emerges fully, but hesitation shows for the first time. You stand at the center of Main Street, Colt in hand, eyes steady, heart calm. Mason beside you, rifle ready. Dusty Creek, fragile but alive, watches silently from behind boarded windows. Calder's shadow meets the line you hold, and for a heartbeat, time hangs still. Then, seeing the town united, resolute, and guarded by unwavering courage, he retreats, vanishing back into the prairie. You lower your Colt slowly, feeling the weight of every life you protected. Dusty Creek breathes freely again. The town, resilient and awake, remains in the quiet glow of early morning, safe under your watch. The badge is heavy, yes, but tonight, it carried hope and survival. The first hints of dawn touch the horizon, pale light stretching across the prairie. The ridge remains shadowed, but you can make out subtle movement. Calder testing, calculating, waiting for weakness. Mason signals silently beside you, eyes sharp. Dusty Creek sleeps uneasily behind boarded windows, unaware of how close danger has crept. You tighten your grip on the Colt, muscles taut, senses alert. The town's fragile heartbeat mirrors your own. Lanterns flicker along Main Street as the wind shifts, throwing dancing shadows against the dust-streaked buildings. Families huddle quietly, listening to the faint creak of floorboards and the soft murmur of early birds. You walk slowly, Colt ready, every step deliberate. Mason scans the ridge constantly, aware that Calder's shadow stretches like a long, silent threat. Dusty Creek waits, fragile, unknowing, every heartbeat stretched thin. From the ridge, Calder pauses, figure sharp in silhouette. Mason whispers, he's watching. Every move, every breath. You nod, standing in the center of the street, Colt at the ready, eyes tracing shadows. The prairie beyond seems still, but every ripple of dust tells a story. Dusty Creek is silent, each window a watchful eye, every heartbeat fragile. The night yields slowly to dawn, but tension remains taut like a drawn bow. Soft hoofbeats echo across the prairie, deliberate, measured. Calder moves with patience, letting the town's line reveal itself. Mason adjusts his grip on the rifle, eyes narrowing. You breathe slowly, keeping steady, Colt heavy but controlled in your hands. Dusty Creek seems to hold its breath, waiting, every heartbeat loud and fragile. The first real confrontation is near, but the town's resolve is stronger than any shadow. From behind windows, families peek silently, holding breath. The soft morning light casts long shadows along Main Street. You walk slowly, Colt ready, lantern flickering faintly. Mason patrols the outskirts, ever vigilant. Dusty Creek feels small, fragile, but resilient under your watch. Calder's presence stretches close, deliberate, patient, testing courage. Every heartbeat echoes tension, the prairie poised to release the final moment. Calder shifts on the ridge, subtle movements precise, controlled. Mason signals silently, muscles taut. You tighten your grip, standing firm in the street center. Dusty Creek remains silent, each soul holding onto fragile hope. The wind carries the faint scent of smoke and iron, subtle but ominous. Every second stretches, thick with anticipation. Calder's patience is tested by the line you hold. The ridge is empty, or so it seems. Dust swirls faintly, stirred by something unseen. Mason scans the horizon, eyes narrowed. You take a slow breath, Colt at your side. The town sleeps quietly behind boarded windows, unaware of the subtle tension pressing against it. Shadows twist in the morning light, every heartbeat magnified. Calder's presence lingers like a whisper, deliberate, waiting for a crack in courage that never comes. The first rays of sun spill across Dusty Creek, painting the town gold and silver. Shadows retreat, but the ridge still holds silent figures. Mason signals subtly, scanning for movement. You move slowly down Main Street, Colt steady in your hands. Dusty Creek awakens quietly, the fragile tension giving way to cautious optimism. Calder remains patient, precise, observing the town's unity and strength. Calder steps forward slightly, the sun catching his silhouette. Mason whispers, "This is it, the moment." You hold your Colt with calm authority, standing tall in the center of Main Street. Dusty Creek's townsfolk watch quietly, hope and fear mingling. Every heartbeat counts. Every shadow is a test. Calder's figure hesitates, realizing the town's line is unbroken, the sheriff unwavering. The prairie seems to pause, holding its breath. Sunlight stretches fully over Dusty Creek, chasing long shadows across dusty streets. Calder, seeing the town united, hesitant, and guarded, slowly retreats back into the prairie. You lower your Colt, muscles relaxing. Mason exhales quietly, watching the shadow fade. Families peek from windows, relief softening their faces. The town breathes freely again. The badge feels heavy on your chest, but tonight it carried courage, hope, and survival. Dusty Creek stands resilient under your watch, the line between fear and safety intact. Peace returns, fragile but real, in the quiet glow of morning.